Well, the likes of A Lost Clause from Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, Codenamed Kids Next Door, Operation Naughty, Ed, Edd n Eddy's Jingle Jingle Jangle, the Powerpuff Girls' The Fight Before Christmas, they weren't the only ones that I caught on Cartoon Network. In fact, I also caught one other Christmas special on the Adult Swim block, and that was, of course, Moral Orel in the Spirit of Christmas. Now, I was only 13 years old when this first aired, and I was basically in San Francisco with not only my parents and my siblings, but also some of my mom's relatives as well. So when I first saw this, I was quite impressionable. I didn't really know what to think about it, other than it looked pretty interesting. It looked pretty fun to watch as well, but quite questionable at the time. Nowadays that I'm 23, just watching this Christmas special again has always made me, realize that maybe I was missing out on this show. It's pretty much an underrated Adult Swim show, and I do hope that I review it sometime in the future. Maybe anytime sooner, I don't know. We'll see, because I really think that if I catch enough episodes of Moral Orel, then I'll definitely review this show in its entirety, and probably give it the proper history and background that it totally deserves. Now, when it came to this Christmas special, I wasn't so sure what to think about it back then. I really liked the animation. I really liked the voice acting, considering that Carolyn Lawrence, the same woman who did Sandy Cheeks from SpongeBob and Cindy Vortex from Jimmy Neutron, voiced our titular character. She does a very good job voicing a boy when all is said and done. So basically the story was rather simple. I mean, you have the family of Orel alongside his half-brother Shapey and his parents going to church, and they hear a sermon, and there is some difficult tension going on between Orel's parents to the point where they almost want to split. Yeah, and Orel feels that Shapey would be the new Messiah. So basically, the typical formula of Moral Orel is that every time the family hears a sermon, Orel has to take the sermon seriously, and a lot of mishaps happen, a lot of shenanigans happen. So that's pretty much the basic premise of each of the episodes of Moral Orel. They're quite interesting, but I also understand why this show is also quite underrated. Well, there has been a lot of executive meddling when it came to this show. Not to mention there were also people who were also Christians and Catholics who were rather upset with this show of how they managed to portray their religion. I mean, it is very irreverent when all is said and done, but when I think about it, it is quite humorous from time to time. Yes, it is also quite controversial. Yes, it may not always attract everyone, but when it comes to its characters, when it comes to its scenarios, I feel like it is quite well written, and when it comes to its characters, some of them are quite fleshed out. Of course, I may not like some of them. Like, for example, the father tends to be kind of a douchebag, and his wife tends to be kind of a bitch. Orel is pretty curious of the world around him, and his kid brother, Shapey, he may grate on my nerves, but he can have some moments of brilliance. And with this Christmas special, I kind of enjoyed it back then ever since I was young. I still enjoy it to this very day, and it makes me really want to search a lot more episodes of this very underrated Adult Swim cartoon. Yes, the likes of Robot Chicken, Aqua Teen Hunger Force, Space Ghost Coast to Coast, and even The Brack Show and C-Lab 2021 have had their fame, and even the likes of Harvey Birdman, attorney at law. But with Moral Orel, it's definitely an example of an Adult Swim cartoon that tends to be rather underrated and quite obscure compared to the big boys. And I say that the Christmas special is a pretty good one. It may not be the greatest, but it's definitely a very good Christmas special that managed me to really enjoy the show, and one that I still look back with really well. That's it for this look back on Moral Orel, the best Christmas ever, and stay tuned for what I really have to feel like I really have to review in terms of the recent Peanuts movie being the recent craze when it comes to the animation world. And yes, we are going there. Stay tuned for a review of A Charlie Brown Christmas. So until then, stay tuned for that, everybody.